All right. Hello and welcome everybody to the wallPen podcast, the art and business of vertical printing. This is episode number 7, which is amazing. Like I love the fact that we're constantly growing and we're constantly moving forward. So as always, I am your host, James Wright, and with me are the co-founders of wallPen North America, Mark Tisdale and Mark Clauser. And on today's episode, we have a special guest from Holland, owner, operator of PAINTBOTX, and his name is Wesley. So welcome, Wesley, to the show.
Hi, James. Hi. Nice to be here.
Yes, nice to have you on the show. We figured it was a good idea to get someone who was overseas to, provide some insight on operating their wallPen and doing vertical printing on the other side of the ocean, just to see if there's maybe some tidbits and some tips that can be shared with our North American operators here. So I guess just to start it off and just to kick it off and just get it going, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started with wallPen.
Yeah, I think I have to go a little bit back about my background, what I did at school and my first job. In I think 2016, I was working at a big bank. I was doing some stuff in the financial market, and it was pretty much a 9-to-5 job. And yeah, I was pretty good at it, and I worked my way up in corporate life. But there was some feeling inside that there was something. Yeah, there was a time for me that I could think a lot of what I want to do with my life, and I just had more time for myself.
Yeah.
And I think it was like 2020 where I decided to just quit at working at the bank, and I started my own business. And yeah, it was completely different than working at the bank. I was doing some e-commerce, and yeah, when I started with that, made my first sale, I called my boss and I was like, "Sorry, man, I'm gonna quit it. I'm gonna go my own way.
I'm out of here." Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out of here."
That first sale is always like, man, it's like the most exciting
Yeah,
feeling. You're like, I could do this. This is real.
Well, it's
exactly.
also like crazy because you're like, I can't believe this actually worked. Like, holy Christ,
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone actually wanted to buy it. That's crazy. Yeah.
Exactly. It was like a one-man show, and I couldn't believe that people want to buy something from me. And yeah, from that, I started to make a believing like, I can, how do I call it? I can create something for myself, and I do have to believe that and getting the trust that I don't need like any boss to work for. I can do it on my own. And from that moment on, it went pretty fast. So the e-commerce gave me a lot of free time, but also I learned a lot from online marketing.
Right.
Also really much about the visual stuff, why people buy things. And it gave me pretty good money to do whatever I want. So I've been traveling a lot, working in coffee shops, and traveling the world with my laptop. So it gave me a lot of freedom. And I think like after I was doing that for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And my fire started I started to miss like the key elements why I was doing the work. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get excited anymore from selling products. I was selling a lot, but yeah, it didn't do anything to me. So I had to be honest for myself, and I was looking for like other business opportunities.
Mhm.
And yeah, I kind of had the money to do whatever I want. So yeah, then I think March this year, wallPen came with an advertisement on my Instagram feed. I just was scrolling on a night, and
They
the
get you.
fire that I
Yeah.
had with e-commerce when I've made my first sale, that fire that popped up again. That fire is still on, and it's like crazy big flame now.
I love that.
That's so
Yeah,
awesome.
that's great.
Yeah,
And
and to give you like an view, I think it was like this year in March, and in July I was at wallPen Germany for my first course. So it went pretty fast.
that's awesome. It's good on you for, because it takes people a long time to know when to quit something when they don't feel that it's the right thing for them. But I mean,
Yeah,
for you, it sounds like you've already like you've done that. Like you're following like what is passionate for you and following like the drive of what's, the next step in the journey of your life, right? Like that's so important. That's key.
yeah. I'm really grateful that I made this decision like a few years ago, because I was in a place where everybody around me told me, yeah, you have security now, you have a good job.
Mm.
Why would you quit this job? Are you sure that you're gonna take the other step and take another road? So
That's the worst, man. I got to be honest with you. Of like, it's hard enough trying to set up a new business. I don't need the doubt running through my brain as I'm sleeping. If like you guys could just maybe find some
exactly, yeah,
positivity in
yeah,
this whole thing, that'd be great. Yeah, yeah,
and yeah.
that's good, man.
The advice that people give, there are most of the people, they work for a 9 to 5, and
Right.
they are
Yeah,
not happy with what they're doing. So yeah, I had to select the people also who I hang around with. But yeah, I really made a choice, and I'm grateful that I quit the job at the bank. Long
Yeah,
time
that's
ago.
awesome. Do
Yeah,
you, when you first started off with like the wall pen, like how was it as like I mean, you do have some experience managing like your own company, doing like the e-commerce thing, but how
yeah.
was it, your experience with like working with like an actual machine and having to go out and make like physical sales with people, if that was the
sorry. Before,
case?
when did you say you got a machine? You said like March this year.
Yeah, no, I in March I saw
July.
the advertisement. In July I was at wallPen Germany,
Yeah,
and yeah,
yeah.
now we're in September,
Ooh,
and
July to
yeah,
September. So yeah, you're sort of like brand new cracking into this thing
Fresh.
then. Yeah. That's
I'm
the
pretty
first three
brand new.
months,
Yeah,
which is tough. Yeah.
yeah,
That's definitely the learning curve on everything. But like James was alluding to, the fact that you start with e-commerce background, like such an advantage of just understanding how that whole, campaign and advertising system can work is like a huge deal for getting your first, let's call it 10 or 20 sales. Like that's a very powerful thing to have in your back pocket.
yeah, exactly. I did a lot of advertisement with e-commerce. Also the visual part of making listings of products, to photo
Yeah,
shooting with products. I understand how important the visual aspect is
Mm.
before someone clicks on your ad or clicks
totally.
on even be interested in something that you have to sell. So yeah, that's pretty
That's why
nice.
we
And
uh that's why we have James actually is we chose the most handsome host we could find. It was like who's going to be visually
yeah,
appealing
yeah,
here. I swear that's the only reason people watch our show.
no,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're
that's
too
nice.
kind. You're
Yeah,
too kind.
Uh,
one of the most important things for me was that wallpen has so much content. So before you
yeah.
start a business, before you build your website, you have like everything.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to clients, make your first sale, and then run the show with like video clips and
Totally.
everything. You got everything. So yeah, your start is like pretty good.
You
Pretty
should
good.
have seen our
Did we?
sales pitch when we started. the E1 gambit way back. It was like, let's pretend we have a bunch of things. Let's theorize on what we could potentially offer you, having like done maybe one or two total. It's like you keep using the same image like in 50 places. It looks like you've got exactly
and
one
it was
thing.
like it was at my parents' house in the spare bedroom. You know, it was like
exactly. Yeah, that's tough.
Oh,
no,
man.
it's a lot, and it's getting better, and there's getting more of it. That's the best part. Is like we definitely this year hit a critical mass of images. I think a lot of it had to do with Germany too. They started like getting a lot more bigger corporate business with their little wall printing operation in Germany there, which gives you a ton of things, and then ours as well. For all of our customers, when we sell a machine, we offer, of course, access to everything that we're doing. Sometimes we even go so far as if somebody's thinking about buying a machine, I always tell them, I'm like, take our Instagram and go pretend it's your company. Like we're not worried about that. That's like, you might as well go see if you like this before you do it. Just go pretend you're Concept Inc. and say like, hey, here's my business. Do you want to buy these things? And, I always say it's like, you had $10,000 worth of business before you bought it. You're going to feel a lot better about the investment and feel like the ROI is there. There's no real reason you have to jump in and set up an LLC and do these things to test the market and things. And I think for anybody who's on the fence about it, it's a good idea to go make a pitch to somebody. Like I always say brewery, because I'm like, the worst case is you end up having a pint. Like there's worse things to spend an afternoon doing. Best case, you're going to find like it's one of the easier conversations to have in terms of, other types of sales. If you're in a banking system, who wants to sell insurance? I mean, I'm sure that there's lots of great ways, but like it's not exactly a conversation for a casual like scene. Whereas ours, you can think of all the creative ways you can introduce it. Hey, you got a wall over there. Would you ever think about doing a mural? I got to show you this really cool technology that I'm into. It's like you'll get used to this idea of like, actually, you're going to enjoy the process. Nobody, the line, anybody who's watching who's talked to me, well, no, I say selling murals is like selling puppies. Like not everybody wants one, but everybody's really stoked you came by to show what you're offering. It's got this feel of like it's an interesting thing. You're not hassling people to be like, hey, I could do something really great with your space. Even if they don't buy, like they're interested in what you're doing, and you put it in your back pocket. Maybe they want it later.
And psychologically,
exactly.
like that first e-commerce sale. I mean, as soon as you can convert somebody on a sale for a mural, I mean, it just changes your whole perspective on the business. It really does galvanize. That this thing is possible. Man, people want what I'm offering. It's a pretty wild experience.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah,
like I said, my fire is.
And like taking all like that, the e-commerce like experience and like sales experience, like how was it? How was the process like starting off, like kicking off like your wallpen business? How did it go? And how is it now?
Yeah, first I did, before I even bought the wallpen, I already had the website done. So
oh, wow.
It was like really hard for me to wait to get the wallpen because the business was already like set up and everything. I had my Instagram, everything was ready to run the show, but I didn't have the wallpen yet. Pretty frustrating. But also pretty nice that you can set up a business before you even have the machine. Normally it's like otherwise. So you have normally, I think you have first have the machine and then do like advertisements and selling the wall art. Let me think. What
was your first job? What was the first job you ever printed for paying customer?
It was like a big IT company. They just moved from like a small office to like a really big office with huge walls. The owner, he just went to Hawaii and he had these boring offices with white walls, gray carpet, just really boring. And he was like, I just been to Hawaii and I want to come back to my office. So
nice.
So he just sent me some background of landscape of Hawaii with the palm tree and with the blue ocean. And it was like a really a flat picture, so a square picture, quite boring. So what I've learned in Germany was some skills of grunching your photo. So this piece of square art will now really fade into the wall, and it gives a totally different dimension and result of the art. So that was my first customer, and while I was printing, he said like, "Oh, I have a second office," and "Oh well, I have another big wall," and I've done 4 walls by his office. He still has some empty walls, so
that's a common story for us as well. They like once we do one, we upsell several. It's like as soon as people see it, and again, this is something that I find interesting. It's like you're familiar with the phrase like what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like like it's basically like what is the like this led to this, but this leads to this. Like which is it? And one of the ways that I look at that is like, do we do the graphics we do? Is that process because of the process? But if I gave you a new way, would you do more of it? Would you do like, I always call them little details, and I don't know if I've said it on this podcast before. One of my favorite prints still to this day is this like tiny little blue jay sitting on a branch I did off the corner in my hallway in one of my old house. And it's like, it's just something you would never do. You would never like make a project out of getting a stupid little blue jay up there. But it was like such a charming little addition for me. Like, that Hygge feel, that like home feel. I was like thinking about, how many examples would you say there are of like little details or extra printing and art you would do? Because like actually a wall pen is just the most convenient on-demand way to go about doing any sort of print. That like, will this technology lead to like actually you're going to do a lot more than what the market typically is, because we have the ability to do things in a way that is just way more conducive to not requiring big budgets or big times in order to pull it off. So we find that the upsell is like almost automatic on every job, because once you see it, it takes like 2 or 3 hours to do a decent sized print. You're like, wow, I could do more. Like this was nowhere near, this was not a painful process. And I think people kind of have in their mind that this is going to be a tough thing once they see how easy it is, that, why not do more, Yeah.
Yeah. And how big was that print that you did? Like the first one?
It was a pretty big wall. I think it's like 2 meter high and like 4 meter in the wide.
Oh wow!
Nice.
Okay, that's a good size.
Wow, yeah, that's a good size.
Yeah.
How did you find them? Was this trickled in through like an ad? Like they just randomly find your website, or how did they reach out?
Yeah, this was a client that found me. So this was a really good Google advertisement.
Nice.
And most of the clients that I've got so far is just Google advertisement. I advertise on some specific keywords, and it's pretty effective.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then,
are you going to share what those keywords are, or you want to keep that those marketing secrets?
Yeah.
I can share it with them, but they are in Dutch, so I'm not sure if they also work.
Right. Let me just pull up Google Translate. Hold on. Yeah.
It's true though. It's a strategy we've talked about a lot here as well. If you can capture the people who are already interested in your services, this person who's looking for a mural, if they can find you, and if that's through Google, if that's through being there at the right time to have the conversation, it just expedites the sales process and gets you to an image on the wall so much faster, because you're literally there to solve their problem. And they're amazed at how quickly and painless the problem was to solve. Oh my God, this guy came in, he set up his robot, and he had this beautiful mural on my wall. It's 4 meters wide in 4 hours. Like, I'm just going to do that again. Let's just do that again over here and again over here and again over here. It's like, yeah, it's pretty remarkable once you can kind of like close that loop.
And for any operators out there or people thinking about this, like the fact that this guy's moving offices, that's a great tip for like, if you're going to do any active sales. Like I always keep my finger on the pulse of the local ads. Like I just found very recently there's a brewery opening up, and they're scheduled to open up in October. And immediately I sent the message to Liam, like, go talk. They're just about to move in. Like that is a perfect time to walk in and be like, hey, this big white space, I'd love to make this even more sensational. You know what I mean? And like, I don't know how you would filter for that necessarily on the Google ads, but it's something to like remind yourself that anyone moving into or out of a commercial space is probably a very opportune time to bring up what you could do. If you could just find those people, like you could drive your whole business just off of that, but it's something that's good to, as you listen and as you network, to be watching out for that, because it's a guarantee that they're going to want to do something. Yeah.
I saw a business locally here that has door knockers, and when they're walking the streets, they put door knockers on buildings that have the taped windows that are under construction. So like, a new business is going, a new business is going in, right? That they're in the construction phase, so they're not quite at the graphic side of things. And they put a sticker on the door or a door knocker, and like, I think the company was like framed image, like, they're a framing company. So like, get your canvases framed for your new space or whatever. But I think it would certainly apply for this. It's something I've always thought about trying.
That's a great idea.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
It's like you're right there. You know that there's a need for it, right?
Yeah, this is good because we coach ourselves, Wesley, as we do these podcasts. We're like, yeah, interesting. Yeah, maybe we should do that.
Yeah. I'm writing everything down, so keep going.
Well, it is interesting because if anybody's been watching this, so I set up in Asheville, North Carolina, which is a relatively small city. It's like 100,000 people. It's not major by any means. And I've hired a guy to basically, I call it day one printing. You know, Mark and I, the people ask us like, what's the business like? We have 5 years of experience in Toronto. That's not going to be the same thing. We're not bidding on the same jobs as somebody who's just starting out. It doesn't tell you what to do in the first 3 months, which, as we were talking before we started, definitely like the trickiest side of this business is getting that ramped up. And so we've been talking about, basically he's been doing cold calling. We've been doing some of the Google ads. We've been setting it up and going. But like, now what we're starting to get into is a lot more like what this conversation is, which is like strategically, if you're going to invest time, where is somewhere where you can get like, I don't know, 20% of the way there without having to have this like long drawn out process, right? Because the long drawn out process is not going to help you in the first 3 months. That's what you're working on for like the 12 to 18 month lens. And I think like now that we're talking about this, one of the ones we were talking about was like commercial real estate agents. Like actually tying in with them and saying like, hey, if you wouldn't mind just letting me know who's moving in and what this and the service that I can offer them. Like, even if you can just find somebody just goodwill, it's like, it's going to make their brand look better. And a lot of those guys are looking for a way of differentiating themselves. You know, like they're kind of all the same in a way. Like, it's like, you know, what do? You show the space and then you sign a lease. Like there's not a lot that, I guess what I mean is there's not a lot you can use to differentiate yourself. And this is something that like, if all they did was everybody that they talked to was like, hey, by the way, like you may want to consider, if you're thinking about sprucing up the space, you may want to consider doing something with these guys because they tie into it, which is so powerful. And again, in the first year, that's the kind of stuff, you know, you really want to start building those relationships because that will drip over time, right? That will just keep filling. One sale, one success will definitely yield more, right? It's like the upselling side of things.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that because I'm now talking with a project developer. I'm not sure if it's the same in England.
Yeah.
So this man has a lot of construction going on, reconstruction of places. And this guy, he also works out at my gym. And I did a free print at my gym. So he saw the machine and he saw everything. And he was like, all right, that's interesting. I have a lot of network, a lot of connections. And also for him, it's very important that he's building
especially these days, right?
So
where you're trying to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm actually going to talk in like 2 weeks with this guy. And yeah, he's pretty big in what he does, and he got a big network. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good.
Can I ask you something? And you can feel free to say no because I don't want to pry too much. But for us here, like for that kind of relationship, given like how valuable it is to have the recurring, right? I typically offer people like a percentage of what they provide us. Like, I don't know if just the differentiation is enough to make it worth his while. But like, for instance, if I go into an interior design company, if they're the right kind of interior design company, it's like, look, I'll leave $3 a square foot for you guys for selling it, or, 20% of the deal. I'd be happy to pay you a commission to just keep feeding me business because I want you happy. Are you considering something like that with this project developer?
Yes. Not particularly in like giving him some kind of percentage, but more in like giving some discount on the artwork, because I think when I
so he's actually buying it from you, like he's not giving you clients, he's buying directly. Okay, I got you. So you're on more of a volume based discount kind of deal,
which is almost a better setup in my being able to have them buy the service from you at a set rate, and then they can charge to their clients whatever they want for it, right? That way you're getting yours and they're getting theirs and everybody's happy.
Yeah, exactly. I want it to be like, oh wait, a new building, let's call Wesley.
Exactly.
my name constantly have to pop up when they have something new. And yeah, I believe that's important to give them some kind of advantage or discount, or
right.
That I'll be 24/7 ready to get on the project.
24/7, like 3 a.m. This guy calls. I need a mural right now. You're the only one that can do it, Wesley.
when they put the wallpen, the bat symbol or wallpen symbol in the sky, you know, Wesley's there. You know, like
he's at the altar, man. But hey, I got to cancel this wedding, guys. I got to print it. Yeah. Let's do it. Yeah, nice.
It's that brings up a good point, and something that we've talked about as well in the past, in the idea of a free print. You know, if you follow a lot of entrepreneurial content online, a lot of people say don't give away your work for free. It devalues, you know, the stuff that you do. But in this world and with this type of business, you know, I don't think of it as nearly as much as a free print as I do as part of my marketing budget. And if you can strategically put a print in a place where it's going to get the right type of eyeballs, a gym is a perfect example, right? I mean, it takes a certain clientele to be able to pay and show up to a place like that. There's a ton of like broad reaching connections, you know, so one print can spiral into, you know, a honeypot of a contract with a new relationship that you otherwise wouldn't have had. So I think being strategic with those initial free prints, I think can go a long, long way.
Yeah, I totally agree with it. I think, it's very important, especially when you start and your agenda is not full. You have this printing machine, and what else you gonna do?
Mark would always tell me your time is worthless, so you might as well do something with it.
I still kind of stand by that, if we're being honest.
For example, what I did with some, I contacted some famous people on Instagram. And what I've noticed is when you go to the website and just send an email, no one responds. But when you go to like their Instagram, they have a response, and they really like the wall art and everything.
Oh wow!
So these are little projects. What I think, I don't charge money for it, but I have like 100K followers, so a lot of people gonna see it. So definitely worth it to just do a free print.
And
pretty easy to calculate those numbers.
And again, I guess it's not even free prints. You're just really just marketing, like as Mark was saying, like it's a great opportunity for you to market. And just going back to the idea of the gym, I'm just thinking of all the people that will pass through that gym and see your artwork on the wall, and the owners of the gym can always just point at you and say like, hey, this is the guy that did this print. If you have a business, then there you go. Like you're pretty much just putting your calling card right against that gym wall and wherever else that you go to print.
And if you've ever done CrossFit, you know that print is going to be like used and abused in that world, man. They're like throwing balls up against the wall and like swinging and feet and everything. So, you know, it's getting a full durability test. You're up close and personal with that type of graphic. So,
Awesome. And gyms are a great use case because, you know, the fluctuation of humidity, right? Like all that action, like Mark was saying, like vinyl is not a good solution for gym. It's like gonna fail, and it's gonna cheapen the brand when it does fail. Like I have it on the list of like top places to reach out to. Big open space, typically there's almost always a wall. The owner is usually very accessible. Like the ownership doesn't typically insulate itself away from you. And so the decision maker is relatively straightforward to get to. And then like, again, it's not hard to strike up a conversation about a mural and what you can do and the creativity. And like, it's pretty obvious what it's going to do. You know, that's the thing I would say about this business is like, people always ask me about like, you know, what's the hardest thing to do if I'm on a sales pitch with somebody who's looking at buying a machine? It's like, you know, where do you think the challenge is? And I'm like, the challenge is that this is not like setting up a plumbing business in New York City where like everybody's looking for a plumber and they know what a plumber is and does. So all you're looking to do is siphon off some of that business. This is about educating the market. And like, so you're not going to get a lot of like natural, organic, I'm looking for a wall printing service. So much of it's about educating. Right. Which is why having like these strong use cases like a gym and sample prints and those things are so powerful is because like it really does get you. Anyone who's educated that has more than one need is going to love this thing. Like anybody who's looking at this and like that project developer you're talking about, like a perfect example of those things that will go. Really quick before you jump on the next question, James, I'm curious, Wesley, have you done any like do do you focus at all on residential? Is that a thing in the Netherlands? People ask all the time. We gravitate towards commercial for pretty obvious reasons, but I'm curious if residential has ever come across your plate.
With residential, you mean like
people's homes? Yeah.
Yeah, but mostly it are like children rooms.
Yeah, that was all right. Kids murals, yeah.
Kid murals, yeah. So I actually have some pretty cool project. This kid, he wanted to have like his own design. He wants like
cool.
In Holland you have like a character. It's called Nijntje and Bobby the Bear. And he wanted specifically that he was playing soccer, and the Nijntje, he had to hold a bear. So we made pretty nice design for him, and actually funny, this lead was from the gym. So this was someone who was
swish.
Someone who saw the gym, and the next day I got a text from WhatsApp, and and she wanted to print. So yeah, pretty nice. But most of the time, residentials, not a lot. Most of the time, children's rooms.
Yeah,
right.
The one market that I've been wanting somebody to explore I'm assuming they have Airbnb in Netherlands. Have they made that illegal there by chance? Yeah, but like Airbnb, it seems to me is like changing from taking your house and just renting it out for a few bucks to like people want experiences. Like Mark and I talk about this off air all the time of like, it seems like it's going more to an experiential degree than it is this. And so I think you could definitely do a thing where you leverage it. Someone who owns Airbnbs typically owns multiple, right? It's sort of like a tiny hotel developer, basically. Like you're going to get not just one, you'll get like several. And so the idea being like, one thing that would be an interest, I don't know if this would work, but one thing that I'd be very curious is like, an Instagram wall. You know what I mean? So like, you know, those walls where they've got like the angel wings and the girls stand and they pose and it looks like they got angel wings, like having some sort of experiential mural that would distinguish your Airbnb. So when you're thinking about like, why do, just like what you were making a comment about, like the visual is so important for selling on e-commerce. Well, Airbnb, a lot of it comes down to, and I'm always surprised when I see these like dumpy pictures on Airbnb. I'm like, who would want to stay here for $200, Whereas if you just put a little bit of time and energy into it, like how powerful would like a really cool, what would you think about the property if like you saw this really great mural front and center that was like, wow, like that's super cool. Like if that wouldn't be a big draw for guys that own multiple spots, and then they could do kind of a theme, right? You've been a part of this like network of Airbnbs, again, just sort of accentuating that experience. So I'd be curious to see if anybody out there in the internet thinking about trying to sell these things, if that wouldn't be kind of a obvious use case of like, you're looking for a way to stand out on Airbnb. Picture a big rainbow colored wall as a part of your front and center picture. With your experience here, you got to admit that would draw in more people. People would be more attracted to that than if you kind of, it's just a way of standing out, I guess is what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I wrote it down. Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're hoping for, right? Like with this podcast, the more people that watch and they're intrigued with what we're talking about, like definitely take notes. Like I take notes on this all the time whenever we have a podcast, because I'm always learning something new and ways to like keep the business going. Do you remember any of like your like favorite or perhaps like unique prints that you've done for people? Is there anything that stands out, or maybe something that was challenging even?
Yeah, I've got a pretty, it's pretty funny because it was not at the client. I did this print at my my rooftop. So I did it, it was like a practicing print. But the picture is like AI generated. And it was a picture of some piece of art of a car, but you can look right into the car, so you can see the engine, you can see
nice
the interior of the car. But it was just spectacular. It feels like you can just hop into the car and drive away.
That's awesome.
How this print came out was just unbelievable to me. And You can see it on my Instagram. It's crazy,
Well,
man.
let's for sure drag that up. I'm going to curious, so we'll maybe like drop that into this so that people can see what it is. But yeah, that's a pretty common thing for guys, man. I mean, Germany, if you ever go visit the headquarters, like Andreas has that great Porsche that's there. We've printed, probably some of my favorite prints have definitely been the Porsche Gullwing that we did with it was kind of a similar thing. It's like see through to the engine and whatnot. Another great idea would be to do an advertisement of like, got a boring garage, like get a picture of your car on the wall so you drive up to it, because like I can picture a lot of guys spend a lot of money making those epoxy floors, right? They love their car, especially if you're a Ferrari guy. You're a Ferrari guy. Like you get in, you start wearing hats, like you start getting into a BMW. There's all kinds of brands, right? And being able to say like, hey, when you pull in, like what if you had something right there that was like, you know, again, I think it's a common story. People would be like, that's great, I love that, that gives me that feeling. That'd be another one that if you could like figure out a way to hook, I don't know how you would advertise door knockers, Google ads, what that is, but if you could get that in front of critical mass, I think that would kind of sell itself. And you wouldn't need a lot of examples for guys to like understand what you can do. But that'd be another one that I think would be a great use case for this thing of just, again, in particular, the residential side, which is like nice because that can buffer your sales. Commercial sales are going to be longer range. They're going to take longer to close. They're typically more lucrative, but they're not going to snap out as fast as some of the other ones. I think that there's just a natural like vetting period basically to get those things going. Whereas like, you know, we always argue with people about whether or not we should have a catalog of prints, whether people should like pick out of a book. And I've always said like, by the time we created that artwork and like made it so you could pick it, we'd be customizing everything anyways. So I don't know how much of a draw that would actually be, but like cars actually would be specific enough that you could kind of show like maybe 5 examples and that would be sufficient for people to get what you can do, you know? So as long as you like isolated that catalog idea down to something specific and you knew what your customer specifically, you know, I'm looking at your garage, whether you want this BMW in there, you know, I think that might actually work really well and just make it a theme right as you could hit it. And the best way to do that, I'm not sure. I think obviously it'd be best if you could do it sort of like on an ad online, because that would be the most effective. But I think it would actually, maybe the door knocker actually wouldn't be a terrible one. If you went to the right neighborhood, right, and started showing what it could be, that actually wouldn't be a terrible idea.
Yeah. And like more on that, you mentioned that you used AI to generate that image. So like what was the process there? And like, can you give more details on that? Like how did you go about doing that?
Sorry, my connection fell away, so I missed a lot of the conversation.
Oh, that's okay.
Poor you, Wesley. You missed all my brilliant insights here, man. You're gonna have to rewatch this thing just to get it back. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to hop in a little bit about the cars subject. Because the print that I've made, I posted it on Instagram, and I had some really cool reactions also about the graphic designer. And this car, I printed it, and I sent it to like all of the Porsche companies in Holland. And Smart. Yeah, it was all by email, so I didn't get a lot of response, and it was a lot of text. So people, I think, who read this are not getting excited and warmed up for what the wallpen can do. Yeah. So what I've did is contact someone, some graphic designer, and she makes artwork for Porsche. So there you go. So she gets hired at Porsche at events, and she will do like a live drawing of a Porsche. If someone like buys a Porsche. Yeah. And I immediately contacted her from, wow, your artwork is now on A4 paper. It's pretty small. How about we do it very big? It can be on canvas, plexiglass, or we can do the walls at Porsche. Right. Yeah. But now I got someone inside at Porsche, and she made a call with them. And in like 2 months they have an event, and we will discuss everything later, what they want. But yeah, eventually, I did get by Porsche, but in another way.
Different angle. Yeah. I think with those kinds of sales, the advice I always give people, and again, this is sort of just me musing, but like, I really like the idea of going into the space, taking a photo of the wall you're thinking in context, and like providing like, hey, what do you think if I were to do something like this on your wall? Would this interest you? Because like you said, we call it, I mean, I guess it's not perfectly example of the gap, but there's like people who are interested to like when you put ink on the wall, we call that the gap of like, I can sell this thing and be 3 months later still trying to figure out what to do. So anything you can do to kind of like jump those steps of decision making. You know, we find most of our customers are crippled by decision of like the reason that wall is blank is because they couldn't make up their mind what they wanted. So being able to like show it before, you know, so you're, like you said, you're not sending text, you're sending like 1,000 words in the image. It's like, look at what this could be. You know, do you like this? Would you make any changes? Because I can sell it to you for this price. That's a much more, that's a giving them a reason to decide something as opposed to, I don't know, man, it's Friday. Let's get out of here. Maybe we'll talk about it next week, right? Which is a pretty common thing. And this is like trying to capitalize on the excitement on the first stroke. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. Cause I think I might've mentioned this to Mark and Mark before, like this whole idea of, because a lot of times like luxury automotive brands, they'll have like these events, like either it's like a new like a new car launch or whatever the case may be. And they always have like either like, you know, jazz players, or they have someone painting something or whatever else. But like, yeah, just going back to your example there of using the wall print and making a print on the wall at one of these events, like that's incredible. And good on you for the networking as well. Like it seems that's like a theme across of everything that you're doing now is like you're networking in order to build your book of business, which I guess is like one of the tips for anyone who's watching this. Yeah, get those sample prints out there and obviously network with people and just talk with people, and you'd be surprised on how you'd get these prints up on the wall so easily.
Not just a tip, a core tenant. At the end of the day, man, you got to get yourself out there. You got to be able to present yourself and what you do. So everything that you could do and getting creative, man. I love the idea of like, all right, the people at Porsche didn't answer me. Well, I know this person works with the people at Porsche, so I'm going to talk to them. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't take much. They cost you nothing. You found them on Instagram. Like all it is effort and creativity. I mean, if you can do that, man, the business is there.
And I think you got to realize that like the point of the initial conversation in the sale, honestly, is to get them in front of a working machine. The second that machine is on-site printing and people can see it, it like all of a sudden it will completely change the way people are discussing things about what the options are and those things. Like a lot of the sales like tips I would give some of my operators would be like, look, your point of making a phone call is not to close the person on the phone. Like no one's going to buy a $5,000 print because you called them and told them you can. The point is to book a meeting, you know, keep getting to the next step. And I would say for anybody starting out, get that machine in front of a person, get that in front of anybody for almost any cost. I mean, like, it's not like the ink is very expensive and Mark's time is worthless. So this is an easy opportunity to do that. Right. Because that will tell you whether this is going to work or not, is like when they watch this thing going, and we must be 105% success rate, Clouser. Hey, we've sold more than the people have seen it. Like, because people take photos on their phone, they'll go sell it for you. Oh, I don't want a dog. Like, I don't want a puppy, but my friend was just looking for a puppy. This is the cutest puppy ever. Let me take a photo. That's sort of how I think about it, is like, they will actually go, because of the nature of what it is, they will go and actually talk to people for you. They will actually go and be like, you know what, this would be perfect for this. Let me go see if I can make that happen. And a lot of that drives from the excitement of the machine printing. It really is an experience. That's where, we've talked to people that put on trade shows before. Like, that's been a theme that's come up every once in a while. It makes perfect sense. Why does anybody stop at the booth? It's like, well, I mean, great. I'm not real interested in buying a oil rig just yet, but it's really cool what you're doing back there. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So it's like, built into this thing is this idea that this is a sales magnet. Like, it really is. And so getting it in front of anyone who might be a vested user, or even their cousin, like, you don't know who these people know. So even if they don't buy, is the most powerful thing you could do, certainly in the first few months and few weeks of owning it, is try to get it in front of as many people as possible. Nothing will drive more business than that, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a really great example, because when I was told you about the first print that I've done by the IT company, the second day I came back, there was another person walking in, and he was checking out the prints, and he looked like he was an important guy. He was wearing a suit and everything. And he was asking a lot of questions about the print, and I could tell he was like an important man who runs a business. And afterwards, I found out that he's like a big CEO of a construction company.
Right.
But this thing, he just walked into the room. He was
Right.
a friend of the business owner where I was printing, and now I also am in contact with him. So
Yeah.
I didn't have to do a lot for it. The machine did like everything.
Yeah. No,
it's
exactly.
It's one of the techniques we've used. When we printed at a coffee shop, the owner asked us whether or not we wanted to print after hours, and we said, "What's your busiest time?" You know, he goes, "Well, Saturday morning at like 8:30." We're like, "That's when we want to print." You know, I want as many people walking through the door. I want as many people seeing this thing in action, and like again, and it just like it stops the crowd. Everybody is interested. Unfortunately for us, that print was February 2020, so everything that we got in terms of interest just like
timing was impeccable
after COVID. Yeah. But it was amazing at the time. We got a lot of business cards, and you know, there are a few of those contacts that have come back out of the woodwork even two years later, looking for work. So
that's actually really interesting to think to note too, is that it's not intrusive in the sense that where, you know, with other installs, you'd want to do it like after hours so it doesn't disrupt your business. But if you think about when you're doing some vertical prints, like you want people there while the machine is on and running. Like, yeah. I'm just thinking like with vinyl, I've seen some vinyl installs and they get pretty messy, and it's like there's stuff everywhere and they sort of have to block off an area and people can't walk there and whatever else. But with the wallpen, I mean, you set it up and just watch it go, and it becomes a talking point, especially like at coffee shops and anywhere for that matter.
That's actually was the I don't know, Wesley, how much you follow us online, but that was the main development reason for the Easel, which we developed this aluminum frame system that can grab like any rectangular shape at basically any size. And the real genesis of that was when Mark and I, way back pre-COVID, we were doing like road shows to like some interior design groups that I knew. We would go through the whole presentation, and you know, you're trying to get the meeting, so you don't want to make it too much of a burden. So it's like, pick a wall, we'll give you a free print. It's like, well, I mean, it's like asking, hey, I'll give you a free tattoo. It's like, I'm not sure I'm really ready to commit to that. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of a big ask. So we would end up putting up this temporary vinyl, right? But the thing was, we would go through all the same steps to set up a print. It was just as much pressure. It was exactly the same as if we put on the wall. But when we were done with it, we'd tear it off, we'd throw it away. And it was like, I told Klaus, I think it was actually like our third or fourth, I'm like, this is such a waste. This is exactly as difficult as everything else that we print. And yet we're like, when we're done with it, we throw it away. Like, it would be, he's like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, it'd be really cool if we could just like leave them with something. Like, why not make something usable out of these experiences? Again, we're going through the whole thing. So that's where we started kicking around the idea of like canvases, and then this idea of doing, you know, something like brick or something that would be like really neat that you would actually take, and you might go hang in, maybe not your house, but like you go hang in your office or something. And in the process of thinking through like, okay, well, how would you execute that at someone else's space? It's like, well, I don't know if you've ever tried taping something to the wall to print to it. Like, not a fun way to use this printer. Like, it's just a miserable experience. Don't run this thing with distance control off. It's not a friendly experience. And through many years of like cycling through that, including one of our jobs that's been a very big magnet for us has been printing on doors. So we take the doors off, we print on it, we rehang it. So we actually needed a way to get this contract. We needed a way to hold the doors, which is where it like really became, instead of a theoretical thing, like we actually do physically need this device. And that's when we ended up basically creating this thing. And it works like, if once you use it, you cannot go back to not using it. Like, it's just like so much easier to get prints done. And that's something that I would say, like, man, if you can get something like I don't know, farmer's market. Like, I'm not saying that I have a good example of where this would be, but if you could literally just sit there and as a promotional piece, do a custom print on site, on the spot, and then give it to them with your card attached to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you think about how powerful that print in the gym is. Well, there's no real reason you couldn't put something on an object and give it. No, take the pressure off of I call it the tattoo theory. Take the pressure off of having to decide for the space and not liking it. Give them something that's just a takeaway. It's like, no matter what, it's like, it's going to be a cool print. You know, do a print of the Amsterdam skyline, or do a print of something that's like notable in this, or even just let them pick. That is it has maybe like 50 to 75% of the same sort of retention that you would get as if you had a wall. You know what I mean? Because at least they're taking it with them, and they're going to, every time they see it, they're going to remember, oh, you know what? That was really cool. Maybe I will go do that. So that's another one that, as we're releasing this Easel product, that really, I think we'll probably look at integrating into our sales process of like, dude, just go and spend like the guys who play guitar in the corner, go in the corner and print canvases and give them away to people as they go. It's like, I mean, it would work. It really would. If you get critical mass of people, I guarantee you some guy in a suit would come in and be like, oh, actually, I own Coca-Cola. So like, yeah, sure. Why don't we do every factory I own? You know, like, you don't know where those are going to come from, but the machine will draw them to you. You know, if there's a need, they'll be impressed when they see it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you go about getting,
no experience at all at designing, graphic designing. I do have a little bit of experience from e-commerce, but also on that, I hire people to do the work for me, most of the visual stuff. So yeah, pretty simple prints I try to do myself. I just watch some YouTube tutorials to do some drop shadows or some frames around the but if the customers really want something special, I'm working together with a graphic designer, and she's from Mexico. And yeah, she's really good in what she does. So the customer just have to file their wishes, and yeah, she goes design it until the customer is happy.
That's awesome. Nice. That's good. And then you had mentioned earlier, and I think we might have gotten cut off, but like the whole AI piece of it, like how did you go about doing that? Was that you yourself, or was it the graphic designer that did that AI piece?
I did it myself.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it really depends on the customers, but for some customers, they want like a specific print, and I run some AI versions of it. I just make some prompts of it, and AI will make the artwork, and I will like check and fish if the customer is happy with it, and if I'm like in the good direction of the artwork that they want to. I think AI is a pretty nice, especially when you're not have any experience with designing. It's a pretty good tool to do design stuff and make some visual stuff for the clients.
And definitely. Are you getting print ready? Are you getting print ready files that you're able to use? Or did you then take your concepts from, Midjourney or whatever tool you're using, and then have a graphic designer kind of touch them up? Or
yeah, I've got one AI project now, and it's just the AI did the work. I upscaled it for because it's a pretty big image, but no one touched it. Just AI did.
Perfect. That's awesome. Yeah. And do you mind sharing like what platform that is, or?
I'm gonna do this gig on this Saturday. Yeah. So I can share you the everything, videos and the artwork.
Or what AI program are you using? Is it Midjourney or?
Yeah. Wait, let me check.
Yeah.
I don't even know the name.
There's so many of them out there. I know. There's so many. It's like, video.io or like AI. There's tons of different ones.
Called GoArt. GoArt.
CoArt?
Like Go.
Oh, GoArt. GoArt. Right. Yeah. Is that like .io or .ia or AI? Sorry.
No, it's on my phone, so I'm not sure.
Okay.
Oh wow. Have a website. It's the application.
Yeah.
It's an app. Oh, very cool. Yeah. Nice.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I guess just going back to like your PaintBotX, where'd the name come from, by the way? I'm intrigued because it's a little bit different than what we have here in North America. Like, where'd the name come from?
Yeah, I wanted to be different than everybody else. So everybody else is wallPen Netherlands, wallPen France.
Right.
So I wanted to really stand out with my name. And to be honest, ChatGPT.
I love it.
Oh man, this is like the perfect playbook, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, I wanted to go with the credits, but ChatGPT did the work for me.
Dude, that's the credit, man.
That's
you
great.
know how to use the tool.
Yeah. This is a really good example of like how I tell people all the time, like this AI stuff, man, we might be one of the most perfect use cases of like, it's cool. It can do images. Maybe video game companies will use it. Like for us, it's like, man, you kidding me? Just for idea generation, right? It's crazy how powerful that can be of just like, even if you didn't use it, just to give people examples of what it is. We're very heavily pursuing that over here of like integrating it. How do we use it? How do we leverage this more? How does this fit into the sales process? All that good stuff. So it's great to hear you using it. I think we should maybe connect again and compare notes if you're open to that of like how you're leveraging it. You know, maybe there's something we can do as a group that would make it more economical.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And nice. I guess just moving on to is just like, are there any exciting plans that you have set up for PaintBotX at all? Like what's the future hold? What does the future hold? It's still new, but like what's next step?
PaintBotX, but pretty much projects going on. It's when you sell like an artwork, it's not like you sell it today and tomorrow you're gonna place it. So I have a lot of conversations going on, a lot of designing. So like in the middle of October, I got appointments to go to the customers and place the wall arts. I got some pretty big walls going on. One at the gym, nice. one at the restaurant. Also some small projects, but I can talk about it, but you just have to see it. So just follow my Instagram and you.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. I guess that's good to know too. Like, I mean, again, I'm going at this from like a novice, like not actually having a wall pen yet, but seeing this as like a first time operator, knowing that it's not just about like, you know, you go out, you get the sale, and then the next day you're in there printing on the wall. There's actually like a process where it's like you go in, you get the sale. There's a time where you're doing the ideation of like what to actually print on it. And then you'd go and set up that actual time to go and print. And it's sort of like overlapping with like sales calls and print days and whatever else. So it's interesting to hear that it's not just like it's to how it works. Do you have any, I'm not sure. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'll let you talk. You can finish the question.
I'm not sure if Mark, if you had anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, Wesley, you're like about 3 months in from your machine. It sounds like, I mean, it's been so fucking great to like hear you in the journey that you've gone on, because Mark and I have been talking a lot about the stuff that you've done, and to see it being implemented by an operator and seeing it be successful is just, you know, fantastic. It is true that these techniques and strategies work. Given that you're 3 months in and are quickly becoming a veteran of wall printing, is there any tips that you'd give to a new operator starting out?
I've written something down. Wait, let me check.
That's a good tip. Write your thoughts down.
Stay out of PaintBotX's way because they're coming for you.
I will ask ChatGPT one moment. No. I think one important thing is when you think of buying this machine, that you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be a graphic designer. There are a lot of cool platforms like Fiverr where you can hire people for a pretty good price to make your artwork. Also, all these AI programs, you don't have to do it by yourself. So, go look for artists, go look for people who draw, and just get in touch with people, network with people, and you don't have to do it all by yourself. I think that's a big mistake that, a lot of people make, but just get in touch with people. A lot of people are pretty good willing also to help you. Because this technology, this machine, everybody wants to be a part of it. Some people might even want to be willing to work for free for it. Yeah. And Yeah, I think when you like contact an artist or go on Instagram and you find someone where you really like the work, they feel like really honored that you will ask them and make a big work of their artwork.
Yeah.
So yeah, just go out and talk to people, connect with people, and also it's like everything is brand new, so you don't have a lot of competition. It's
right.
If you want to start now, because you will be heads up for everybody else. In like 10 years from now, I think a lot of big companies, they might have a machine in house. Not sure if it goes that quick, but yeah, you are now one of the first that can go with this technology and yeah, go for it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Like everything that you have just said right there in terms of tips have been echoed by other operators, Mark and Mark, of course. And like, it's, again, any of the operators out there or anyone out there looking to make a career change similar to how Wesley has. I mean, here's an amazing case study right here, right in front of you, from someone who used to work in financial like services and did his own e-commerce business, and now with the wall pen and printing and doing vertical prints and being very successful at it. Yeah, I think those are all very poignant tips that you've just provided there. I'm not sure if Mark, you want to add anything else, like, but it's amazing. It's amazing to see. I love it. I love it.
I mean, this is exactly the kind of thing that, you know, when we sell a printer and we're looking for an operator, like what the kind of reactions and thinking that we try to instill in them, like you're taking this right out of our playbook. Like this is, you're nailing it. Seriously. It's great. Probably the only thing I would say that we haven't quite gotten to yet within the wallpen community is like the, you know, cross-pollination of everybody's ideas, right? Just like you can see, Wesley, just you and I sitting here, like we could kick around like 10 ideas. Like, what do you think about this? Would this work? Like, because we would both be thinking about it from a wall pen operator, like who has some experience and understands it. So that's a big push for us. We keep saying it. And we're launching some initiatives around that, but basically like giving ourselves a little bit more of an ecosystem, a little bit more of a community to like, you know, do some things at the operator level that are just fascinating. You know, ever since wallpen has gone and been, they took all the information that was supposed to be in the ripping file. You're probably too new, but basically when you created a wallpen file, it used to be attached to the machine you were going to run it to. So I couldn't run Mark Clauser's wallpen files because they weren't compatible. They've moved over. So now a .wallpen file can be sent anywhere in the world that there's a wallpen. You can run that file because all the things that make it unique to your machine are now on the machine itself. Well, like we haven't done a single thing with that. Like I haven't heard of anybody who's like, hey, this really worked well for me. You guys should take this and go try it in your area. So we have this like big idea of creating that like that community feel where it's like, you know, there's not as, like you said, it's not like a competition discussion. There's just like a lot of things that we can all learn from each other of like, that's an interesting idea. Maybe I'll go try that again, given that the attempt at trying something is not particularly expensive. And that's something that, you know, we'd love to get you roped in on, Wesley, as we build it out, of like trying to get operators who like just might benefit from talking to other operators, you know, consistently, and it not just being a top down approach from wallpen itself, but letting it be a little bit more organic.
Yeah, nice. I really love to be a part of this, and yeah, it's nice that it's everything is so low key. You can contact everybody within someone who's a wallpen operator, someone from the marketing. You can really connect with everybody, and it feels like it says wallpen family, but it really feels like it.
Yeah,
great, cool. All right, anything else you guys want to add?
No, man, that was great. That was solid, Wesley. Thanks so much for taking the time with us today, man. It was awesome to talk to you, and I don't think this is going to be the end. I think there's a lot of good ideas here that have yet to be explored. So
yeah, likewise.
And if you don't mind, where can people check you out? Where's your Instagram, website? Can you just let everyone know where they can reach you? And we'll also put it on screen afterwards too. But if you don't mind sharing,
most of the work you can see on my Instagram. It's PAINTBOTX. Just my company name. You can maybe put it in the description, and also my website, paintbotx.nl.
Awesome.
Most of my work can be found over there.
Amazing.
Find it down in the description. I think
yes,
I always like to point on screen.
Yeah, it was great talking with you today, Wesley. It was like a lot of great insights, and I think a lot of people are going to benefit from hearing your story, your journey, and a lot of the great tips that you shared with us today. I really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you for having me, and also thank you for your tips. And I wrote some things down, so I will definitely looking into it. And let's stay in touch with each other if there are. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man, you know, it'd be interesting. Let's book a call for like 6 months, you know what I mean? Check in and see like how are things going? What does this look like? Where, you know, State of the Union will bring you back on. Cause I know we've been talking about doing that with Joel and some of our other operators that have been on here, just to hear, you know, how's the progress been going? So yeah, maybe we could do an update in a few months here.
Nice, man. Yeah, sure. Let's plan something. Nice.
Awesome.
Great.
All right. We'll leave it at that. And again, as your hosts, James, Wright, and Mark, and our special guest today, Wesley. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on the next one.